Welcome back everybody to another one in my aviation history series, and this is actually going to be episode 8 in my history of the RCAF. Now in this video we're going to be looking at the history of 405 Squadron, and 405 Squadron was actually the third of the RCAF squadrons that was formed overseas during World War II, and it was the first squadron that was formed as a bomber unit. Now 405 is actually still active today, but before we get too far into this, my name is Sean and this is Sean's Aviation. 405 Squadron was formed at RAF Dryfield on April 23rd of 1941 as the RCAF's first overseas bomber unit. It was assigned to 4 Group and was given the squadron code LQ. They got the first aircraft, Vickers Wellington Mark IIs, in May and began to train up for night bombing. Its first mission was carried out on the night of the 12th and 13th of June when 4 Wellingtons were sent to bomb marshalling yards near Dortmund, Germany. Of the 4, 1 aborted and the other 3 bombed the target, with all 4 returning safely to base. Not too long after that, the unit relocated to Pocklington and flew there for over a year. In April of 1942, the unit converted to the Handley Page Halifax Mark II and was the first RCAF unit to equip with a 4-engine bomber. On the night of May 30th 31st, 405 flew the RCAF's first 4-engine bomber mission when it took part in the first 1,000 plane raid against Cologne. On August 7th, the unit relocated to Topcliffe for a brief period before moving again to Bully on October 25th. This move also marked their transfer to Coastal Command, and they spent the next 4 months flying anti-submarine missions over the Bay of Biscay, helping to protect the convoys that were ferrying materiel and soldiers for the African campaign. During this time, it was credited with damaging 1 U-boat, U-263. On March 1, 1943, the unit returned to Bomber Command, being stationed at Topcliffe and becoming part of 6 Group. This was an RCAF bomber group and was staffed mainly by RCAF personnel and had control of many of the RCAF bomber units. It did not stay here long though, as on March 6th it moved to Leeming, and then on April 19th it moved again to Granston Lodge. This last move also marked its transition over to 8 Group RAF, and it became part of the famed Pathfinder Force. These Pathfinders were aircraft that led the bomber stream into occupied Europe, and by using a number of homing devices and radar, pinpoint the target location and mark their target with flares. These flares would guide the main bomber stream into the target and allow the bomb aimers to accurately locate the proper aiming point among the confusion of a target at night. Many times these Pathfinders would circle the targets and remark the target as flares burned out, or as the wind blew them away from the main target. It was a highly skilled, very dangerous mission, and 405 was the only RCAF unit to be part of the Pathfinder Force. It flew its first Pathfinder mission on April 26th, and in August the unit started to transition from the Halifax to the Lancaster, flying a mixed fleet of Mark Is and Mark IIIs. In October of 1943, the unit received the first Canadian-built Lancaster Mark X KB700 named the Ruhr Express, but due to differences in the engines and armament, it was decided to transfer that aircraft to another unit, 419 Squadron, and 405 stuck with the British-built Mark I and Mark IIIs. Its final mission was on May 7, 1945, the night after Germany surrendered, to mark dropping points for Lancasters that were dropping supplies to the citizens of Rotterdam. Of note, 405 Squadron was only one of 4 Pathfinder units to have flown the Lancaster Mark VI. These were 9 Mark IIIs that were fitted with the more powerful Merlin 85 and had a 2-stage supercharger, giving them better high-altitude performance. These aircraft were normally used as master bombers, aircraft that would circle the target and relaying information to incoming bomber stream to ensure that they stayed on target. I may do a video in the future about Pathfinders and master bombers, but it probably won't be for a while. With the war in Europe over, 405 was selected to be part of Tiger Force, the RAF's plan to bring its strategic bombing campaign to Japan. As such, it was returned to 6 Group and relocated to Linton-on-Ouse. While here, it was re-equipped with the Canadian-built Lancaster Mark X, that on June 16th began to return to Canada with their aircraft. This return would allow the Tiger Force RCAF squadrons to train and visit family, as well as modify their aircraft to Tiger Force requirements before heading overseas again. The war, however, ended, and 405 was disbanded at Greenwood, Nova Scotia, on September 5, 1945. During World War II, the unit flew 4,427 sorties, including 349 with Coastal Command and 41 airlifting prisoners of war back to England, and it flew 24,843 operational hours. It dropped 12,856 tons of bombs and was credited with 6 aircraft destroyed, 4 damaged, as well as 1 U-boat damaged, as I mentioned before. It lost 167 aircraft, with approximately 750 personnel being killed. The post-war life of 405 Squadron began on March 31, 1950, when it was reactivated at RCAF Greenwood as the RCAF's first post-war maritime reconnaissance unit, beating 404 Squadron by 1 month. They were assigned the squadron code AG, receiving their first aircraft, Lancaster Mark 10s, in April, and in an interesting turn of fate, at least 4 of their Lancasters were the same ones that they flew back from England in 1945. In late 1951, the unit changed its code to VN and used this code until it was merged into the Canadian Forces. The Lancasters were flown until 1955, when they were replaced by the Lockheed Neptune, the twin-engined aircraft that was selected to be the RCAF's new maritime patrol aircraft. The Neptunes began to arrive in March, and all the Lancasters were gone by that November. The Neptune, however, had some shortcomings, notably a lack of range, and it was replaced in August of 1958 by the new Canadair Argus. 405 Squadron was the first to fly an operational mission with all 3 of these airframes. 405 Squadron set a number of milestones with the Argus, including its first overseas missions to Gibraltar. It also set a Canadian distance record by flying from Hawaii to North Bay non-stop, and a maritime endurance record by flying a combat-ready Argus for 26 hours straight. The unit was integrated into the Canadian Forces on February 1, 1968, and became known as 405 Maritime Patrol Squadron and continued to fly the Argus, then known as the CP-107. They flew these up until November of 1980, when the first CP-140 Aurora arrived at the squadron. The squadron became 405 Long Range Patrol Squadron, and while the unit is primarily tasked with anti-submarine and surface ship missions, it also takes part in fisheries inspection, pollution control, and counter-drug operations. After the terror attacks of 2001, 405 Squadron took part in Operation Apollo until 2003, flying patrols over the Arabian Sea. In 2004, 405 took part in the NATO anti-terrorism patrol of the Mediterranean, known as Operation Active Endeavour. So today, 405 Squadron is still at the pointy end of the stick for the RCAF, flying patrols over the world's oceans as well as certain land masses, ensuring the safety of Canadian troops and the world's citizens. Now, with the plan eventually to replace the CP-140 with a new platform, hopefully and most likely, 405 Squadron will still be around to lead the way with this new aircraft. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching, guys, and as always, if you are interested in any of the content you see, you can access my website at www.seans-aviation.com. You can see all the latest pictures of aircraft and museums and the build logs of all of my current models and past models on that site. And if you're interested in any of this content, please click the subscribe button here on YouTube to follow more. Thank you very much, and see you guys next time.